very warm welcome on this Tuesday afternoon. It's 4 o'clock, which means it's time for the Africam show. I will be your host, Ben Coley, for the next 45 minutes as we dip into all the amazing Africam cameras across the African continent. And we've started in Lentora with a beautiful lilac-breasted roller. Look at that cacophony of colours, at least 7 different shades of greens, purples, lilacs, blues, pinks. One of Africa's truly magnificent birds. And thank you all for joining us. Remember, it's live and interactive. You can send through your questions and comments. We'll try and read some of them out. I see some of our regular viewers have joined us already. Mr. HUAE87, you have a ginger tea with honey cake on the go. That sounds very sophisticated. I have some water, which is less exciting, certainly. But in my defense, it is quite warm here in Hoedspruit. But it seems our roller has disappeared. But we'll do a quick scan and see what else we can find at Lentor, one of my favourite cameras. Always some interesting little things to find here, it seems. Amber CO, you're waving hello. Hello back, Amber. You've got some coffee. Jean Gale, good morning to you from Seattle, also with your coffee. Who else do we have? DNC. Oh no, oh, another person from Seattle, DNC. Do you know Jean Gale? Are you friends? You also, everyone's got coffee and you have a banana. Excellent work. I have some dried mango. Look, I think this is a young roller who is possibly soliciting some food from an adult. If it is it that is squeaking, or possibly it's just very hot and it's doing what we call goul flapping. So just pumping the tongue up and down to create an air current and to cool down, sort of sweating, evaporative cooling through the tongue. Casper's third ghost is with us as well. Happy Tuesday to you, Casper's third ghost. Also with coffee. Everybody's on the coffee this morning, except for Karu, who has milk. Perhaps you should find some coffee to add to. Yeah, I think it is the roller who's squawking there. So yes, it's about the right time, coming to the end of well, I suppose it's wet season in Kenya at the moment, but it will still be breeding season for birds. Ah, here comes the adult. There we go with a little morsel. How special is that? This is what I love about these cameras. I mean, it's not often you get to view such beautiful moments like that. A little youngster getting a meal from either mum or dad. You can see it hasn't quite the bright colour will do when it gets a little bit older. Not sure how old it would at the moment, but it'll stay and be fed by mum and dad a couple of months after hatching. But looking at the coloration it's already got, I would think it's probably a good month or two old. Jan Powers, hello to you. You hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Right back at you, Jan Powers. I hope you are having a wonderful day. And if you're not, this, I'm sure, will help. Jack de Boer saying, what a cool roller. It was indeed a cool roller, and was being the operative word. Perhaps the little one following the parents around in the hope of getting another little insect like that brought to its mouth. Lots of people this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. April Owl, you're also joining us from a sunny Connecticut. Oh, wow, you have berry muffins and a cherry iced tea. That sounds rather delicious. Certainly all of you have a lot more excitement than my cup of water. Oh, I've just been handed a sneaky sip of an energy drink. So excuse me if I start talking more quickly. Quick, take that away from me. There's Roller playing a little bit of hide and seek now. Parents, of course, will be very much tuned to that sound, and they will be, almost if they don't want to, they are mentally forced to try and feed that youngster, but it requires lots and lots of growth at this early stage. And of course, insects are a great source of protein. Even a lot of the seed-eating birds will feed their youngsters insects, even though as they grow older, they will change their diet to what we would consider a granivore, or they will become granivore birds, feeding on seeds. But at that early age, that injection of protein just to help with the development of the muscles and the skeletal structure, and all the other very energy intensive requirements to develop flight, hugely important. Oh, here comes, is that an adult returning? Oh, don't feed him behind the branch. Oh, we can't quite see what was going on. I saw a flash of turquoise. Okay, well, if they're going to play hard to get, I think let's try our luck elsewhere. Let's head over to the Oliphants River with some elephants. Elephants of the Oliphants. Beautiful, enjoying the shade. Loads of water in the Oliphants River at the moment. I was in Kruger a few days ago, and all the rivers are flowing very, very nicely. Lots of water around. We have had some late rains over the last week or two here in the Lowveld, which will be great because we are expecting a relatively dry winter, I think. Namaste to you, Zygote. You're having panna drink. I'm afraid I don't know what panna drink is, but it sounds lovely. I hope it is tasty and refreshing. But I think these elephants are just enjoying the shade. It looks like a fig tree of sorts there that they're sheltering under. Has been a very warm day today. It's up in the low 30s, which I can attest to, having played golf here in Hoedspruit. I played rather well, and rather surprisingly, considering the last time I swung a club in anger. And I'm very fortunate my parents are visiting from the UK at the moment. So I took my dad out to do what he loves the most in the world, which was to play golf. And I'm delighted to say that I won, which doesn't happen very often. But no elephants on the Hoedspruit. However, if anybody is a golfing fan, go and have a round at Skukuza, and you can play golf and potentially have to deal with elephants and lions marauding through the course. Makes for an interesting afternoon's entertainment. You can see these elephants all fanning their ears, cooling down, creating blood flow across those massive veins on the back of the ears, cooling the blood and circulating it around the body, which takes around 20 minutes in a full-grown adult bull. Whilst in Kruger, had a little stop at Letaba and went to their wonderful elephant museum. If anybody is headed that way, again, it really is worth popping in there. Some really nice exhibits, especially of the magnificent 7 big tuskers that used to roam the Kruger area. Absolutely ginormous and impressive tusks that those big bulls had. You don't really sort of appreciate them. They were a little bit before my time. I've seen some large tusked elephants, certainly in the last 20 years of being out here, but the ones that they have in that Letaba Elephant Museum, those original tuskers, truly magnificent. They are. Fig tree as well will be very important to these animals. Throughout the winter months, figs are fairly usual in that they can fruit at completely random times of the year and drop their figs on the ground for many animals to enjoy when there is not much else due to the drier winter conditions. Elephants, of course, can reach up and pluck them off the tree. But they say that the sycamore fig in particular is responsible for feeding more animals during the winter months than anything else out here in southern Africa. Yeah, but it seems somebody has passed on a message that it might be time to move on, maybe time to grab a little bit of food. Bridget McKinney, thank you for your congratulations. I assume you're referring to my resounding victory over my dad this morning on the course. As I said, I played surprisingly well. I'm quite proud of myself, actually, because probably I only beat him once out of every 10 attempts. And Zygo, do you say panna is made from unripe mango with jaggery made from sugarcane juice with some spice added? It's sweet and tangy. It sounds very interesting, Zygo. I may have to look out for panna. I do enjoy mangoes. It's just coming to the end of mango season here now, and we've been graced with many a mango and many a smoothie and mixed in with muesli and things. Big fan of mangoes, although they're a bit of a pain to chop up and eat. Well, the eating part is fun, but preparing them is a bit of a pain. Right, well, the Ellies are filing off. I think let's head back up north, back to Kenya to Oldonyo. A lovely flock of wattled starlings, which we also saw in Kruger the other day. Did have some very interesting sightings whilst in Kruger, probably particularly because we were trying to show off the park to my parents. We were lucky enough on a road, one of the gravel roads, no other cars in sight. We happened to come around the corner and have, well, I think it was 13 lions just filing across the road and disappearing down into a drainage line. Very, very special to have a sighting like that all to ourselves. And probably the highlight was a little dwarf mongoose, which had some partial leucism. So it had a little white paws and a mostly white face with some little black splodges on it. I've got some photos, which I will be posting when I get around to taking them off the back of the camera. But that was very, very cute. He sat there on a dead log for quite a while, and we were trying to figure out what it was. But yeah, never seen that before. A partially leucistic dwarf mongoose. These mostly look like females. Again, I'm not quite sure of we're probably at the end of the breeding season now. The males of these wattled starlings do develop quite a contrasty yellow head. It's one in the middle, but it's a bit hard to see on the camera. And as the name suggests, they have these little black wattles at either side of the beak, but very normal to see them in large flocks such as this. Also insect-eating birds, like all starlings. Always so busy, these things. Very fast metabolism. Always hopping around, jumping around, grooming, checking feathers, shifting feet, little flit here and there. Okay, let's venture further south and go to Hwangi Safari Lodge in Zimbabwe for a bit. Lovely crocodile and some of the less beautiful members of the African continent, the marabou stalks. One just in the way of the crocodile with his mouth wide open there, possibly trying to lose a little bit of heat. It doesn't look as if he's sitting in direct sunshine. So a little bit like I'm saying with the birds, they will also try and regulate that body temperature if they're getting too warm. Open the mouth, let the breeze run across that membranous, yes, I think that's a word, layering or surface of the tongue, and just cool the interior down a little bit. And when they do sit with their face to the sun, yes, of course, they are warming up through their tongue. They'll also pick up warmth through those little spikes down their back, the osteoderms. But it's also thought that they are baking any rotten meats that's sort of stuck in their mouth in between their teeth. They don't have dental floss for crocodiles. But if you sit there and in the sun, any bacteria that is potentially trying to inhabit the mouth will get far too hot and come to the end. Tim, does anything eat a marabou stalk? They probably do, Tim, but I can't think of anything that specializes in marabou stalks. I think we're down to the usual suspects. If one was incapacitated or really not paying attention, there is certainly a crocodile would grab one if it could. I have no doubt a leopard would try its chances, maybe a big python, um, maybe some of the larger eagles, something like a martial eagle, perhaps, if there was an unsuspecting hawk, but nothing that I can think of that sort of looks out for storks as a main part of its diet, certainly. They themselves, of course, do enjoy feeding on other things. They will catch their own little morsels out in the bush, but very well known, unfortunately, for congregating around human rubbish areas, scavenging through there, and of course, always associated with carrion and the aftermath of a deceased animal, be it natural or predator caused. But they usually have to wait their opportunity amidst the sea of vultures. If any of you have ever seen vulture feeding time up at one of our other cameras in, I can't think where it is now, the Sky camera. Where is that? It's in Zimbabwe somewhere. Hey, Vic Falls, yes, of course, Vic Falls Safari Lodge. It's just a sea of vultures everywhere and a few marrow stalks hoping to grab a few tidbits. Possibly looking for some. Well, that one looks as if it's having a drink, but I'm sure they'll also take a few aquatic things if they can grab it with that big bill. Speaking of, I thought I would share something very interesting that popped up on my news feed on my phone today about things eating aquatic things. It seems that off the coast of North America, right the way down from Nova Scotia to Florida, there is a type of sea cucumber. It doesn't have a common name. Its Latin name is Elysia chlorotica, and the clue is in the species name there, chlorotica, because it is the only animal ever recorded which can actually photosynthesize like plants do to create energy. So this little sea cucumber feeds on a specific type of algae, and then the chloroplasts, which contain the chlorophyll in that algae, are sort of parasitized by the sea cucumber in a process called kleptoplasty. So klepto, like stealing, and plasty referring to the cells. And it then incorporates the algae's chloroplasts into the lining of its stomach. It itself is a green color because of this chlorophyll that it is absorbing, and it can go for months on end without feeding and produce its own energy through sunlight in basically photosynthesis. So that was new to me. There is at least one animal, I believe it's the only one that we know of in the entire world, an animal that can photosynthesize. Amazing what nature can do. But it's pretty amazing what plants can do to be able to take the light energy from our parent star and turn it into something usable is pretty amazing. Now we've got a good view of the croc. Magnificent set of teeth. But no, the marabou stork seems to be not too bothered. But I know the crocs up at Tau have been seen occasionally grabbing a bird and hunting a bird here and there. But generally speaking, these birds are far too aware, and this crocodile is making no effort to hide itself. So I think it's an unspoken truce at the moment. All right, let's keep heading south to Katmai Pan in Belule. Oh, it's a lovely Impala. You can see that we are in rutting season now. So we are coming into breeding season for the males. We're beginning to hear that very characteristic snorting and roaring and grunting emanating from the bush. If you've never heard it before, it sounds like a predator. Certainly not the noise you would expect an impala to make, but you can see this male prowling around, showing off his set of horns. So all the males at the moment are fighting with one another to establish their seasonal territories, which they will hold for the next 6 weeks, maybe to 2 months, and they will try and herd females or keep any females that do wander into their territory within that area for breeding rights. But of course, that could be quite a lot of females in impalas. And it is quite normal for a male to be overthrown within a week or so of holding said territory. He spends so much time trying to mate, trying to keep those females together, fighting off other males, that he loses condition very, very quickly. All the other males who didn't win the initial fight are just standing in the peripheries, feeding big and strong. They're in the gym basically doing their press ups and their sit ups and their chin ups while this guy is busy. And he will probably get overthrown by a male, and that can happen 4, 5, 6 times in that 2 month period. Which is a wonderful way of ensuring that genetic diversity is kept within a large group. I just saw the male harassing a female in the background there. So it's the only time of the year impalas have territories. Outside of this sort of April, May season, there are no territories established. They all hang together. We see them in mixed herds, mixed groups. At this time of year, we'll be seeing groups of females with a dominant male, and then the bachelor groups of the younger males and those that have been unsuccessful or are yet to be successful, hanging out together for safety in numbers. Always a special time of the year. Here comes this male. I think these three ladies have gone too far away. What are you doing over there, ladies? Come back. Like a border collie, a little sheepdog. Just herd the ladies, keep them all together. I don't want anybody wandering off. Nope, they're going the wrong way, buddy. It's like they want to have a drink, man. Let them have a drink. But nature's very clever the way it selects the strongest animals. So generally speaking, so the females aren't territorial. The male doesn't wander around and cherry pick the best female and bring them all together. But it makes sense that the females are more likely to be in the best areas because there's food, there's water, all the things that they require. And those are the areas that will be held by the most dominant males. The less dominant males will hold inferior territories, which is far less likely to attract females, and therefore he will have less opportunity to pass on those genetics. So it very much does favor the strong. The stronger you are, the better the territory, the more likely you are to have access to females. One seems to have slipped through the net, wandered off to the left, taking the opportunity whilst you can. Nice to see some predominantly clear skies as well. Not something that we've seen very often. And I'm supposed to be doing stargazing evening for some clients this evening, so I'm crossing fingers that it remains clear. Right, let's head back up to Lentor in Kenya. It sounds like we've got some Hammerkops doing some gymnastics. Some mating Hammerkops. Unusual way of mating. They often do stand on each other's backs, not always just for mating. Sometimes it's a dominance thing. A male will stand on another male back. But you saw there was some, shall we say, cloacal touching. Remember that in birds, it's all about weight saving, and you don't want various different reproductive organs and different things for waste products and for reproduction things that need to be done. So they have everything all together as the cloaca, where they defecate through, and they also release the sperm and lay their eggs. Just a great way of saving weight. What have we got there? A little ringneck dove, perhaps? A little hard to see. Good spot, zoomies, though. Of course, these guys are most famous for their enormous nests that they make. Thousands upon thousands of sticks. And rather than nesting on top, it's hollow inside, usually in the fork of a tree. And there'll be an entrance hole, and the nest will be on the inside, and very normal for other birds to take advantage of that huge structure as well. Lots of things nesting on top of on their roof, basically. And often get things like herons, even the Burroughs eagle owl is, say usually, but it's not uncommon to see an owl nesting on top of a Hammerkop's nest. Doing a little pirouette, wondering where its partner disappeared to. Oh, he went up there. And that characteristic squeaky call of the Hammerkop. Very odd looking bird, but very aptly named. I actually found a new bird for my garden bird list today, one I haven't recorded yet, a cinnamon-breasted bunting. Came down for a little bath in the bird bath. Takes my list for the wildlife estate that I stay on to 125 now, I'm very proud to say. So I go to asking what would happen if all female impalas went in different directions from the male. He would probably be quite busy. He would do his best to keep them together, to herd them all back into one spot. But ultimately, if they all sort of scatter in all directions, there's not much he can do about it. So if a predator came in and disrupted everything and they all scattered, then he would, assuming he survives this little attack from the predator, he would still hold his territory. And if those females do move out, so be it. And he will cross his fingers or cross his hooves that another herd will return at some point. Again, if he's holding a really nice territory with good food, with access to water, impalas are water dependent, so those are the prime territories. there's a good chance, because there are so many impalas, that another herd will return to that area. Carol, you say you can hear a red-billed hornbill calling. You may well be able to, a northern red-billed hornbill. I didn't pick it up from my side, but assuming it sounds, just listening in the background, assuming it sounds similar to the southern, it will be a tock 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 noise that you might be hearing in the background. They're in the family of Tockidae. Ah, yes, I can just hear it in the background. Tockidae, I believe, is the family, as an onomatopoeic reference to that very characteristic call. The grey hornbill's the odd one out. It's the one that doesn't sound anything like a hornbill, and it's often the one that I forget because mine, when I hear it, doesn't take me to hornbill. It's more of a whistle. It's like a, if I recall, but it's one of those sort of bogey birds that took me a long time to actually be able to imprint on the memory, and I still hear it sometimes, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I have to file through all the birds in there. Bridget McKinney, you're asking, do hammerkops pair for life? I believe that they do. I'm just double checking for you. They say monogamous, certainly. I'm just checking if there is any reference to whether they would find new pairs. But as far as I know, they will pair for life. But obviously, if something happens to one, or if there's a little dispute, then they will find another one. Yes, I can't find anything specific just on my bird app that states one way or the other if it's life or seasonal, but my gut says a pairing for life. I may be wrong. MG leopard spots, you love these guys. They're cool looking. They are, especially when that one just leant forward and we got a lovely view of that the crest at the back of the head. It's a very unusual shaped bird. And Corey, you're saying that Hammerkops are drama queens, they whine a lot. Shame. Whine is the right word, but say they sort of, it's a strange squeaky noise. It kind of reminds me of rubbing a balloon or a squeaky toy for a dog. Again, it's something that I've had to train the brain because it's not necessarily the noise that you would expect to hear from this type of bird if you sort of compare it to the others. But there's always a few difficult ones like that spurwing goose. That's one that still gets me. It just doesn't sound like a goose or a duck or anything from the Anatidae family of birds. It's very unique. Also, sort of a high-pitched squeaky noise. Certainly no quacking, and very, very different from, say, an Egyptian goose. Plenty of grooming going on. Each partner wanting to look their best for the other. Oh, and a vervet monkey. Okay, let's pop over to the hide. Oh, look, a little waterbuck. A little water bucket. A bucket. They are not being particularly conducive to good camera viewing. Saw a couple of lovely little waterbucks in the park as well. Funny little fluffy things that they are. So quite normal if there's a group of them. The youngsters often form little creches and they frolic together. Must be some water there. I think I saw some water dripping down off the female's face. course, very water dependent animals when you've got that thick, shaggy coat in hot African conditions. They do tend to sweat out quite a lot, particularly if they're in a stressful situation. They can lose, I believe, under severe stress, something like 20 to 30 liters of water in a day, which is an outrageous amount if that is indeed true. But this is a very young one, probably not more than a couple of months old, maybe even not more than a month, I would think. Don't let mum get too far away, little one. Establishing some early independence. Where she's standing there next to that termite mound, she may well feed there. You can see around that termite mound, there's where the grass is cut very, very short, almost looks like all the work that's being done by the termites, all the tunnels for aerate soil, dying termites, all the nutrients being returned into the soil and circulated in the soil there makes that grass taste a little bit better than the surrounding area, and particularly in the winter or coming to the end summer as we are here in the Lowveld. You see these sort of rings of cropped grass around the mound, which actually gives you a really good idea of the extent of the mound under the ground. Remember that the bit that we can see is the I can never say that word, proverbial tip of the termite iceberg. That's just the air conditioning system. Oh, don't get left behind, little one. Just shows you, saw mum expressing a little concern of something. Very quickly to the safety of mum again. Just trying to see if she looks overly concerned. I don't think so. Right, it sounds like we might have some sparring going on at Old Donio between ours as it's rutting season. Let's go have a look. Ha. So you can see by those horns, they're just sort of, there's no step in them. They are just sort of arcing horns at the moment. So these ones will be last year's crop, still growing, but it's always a good time to practice those skills. This time next year might be their first opportunity to potentially hold a territory and pass on those genetics. I'll come back. Well, let's hope that their sparring brings them back direction. But if they do, you can see all those ridges along the horns. Again, another very clever design when you are wrestling with another member who's also got those ridges. If you didn't have those ridges, the horns would just slide down one another and they just end up headbutting each other each time. So those ridges allow the impalas to twist them slightly. Those ridges lock together and they can have a proper test of strength by pushing and shoving against one another. But it's a dangerous time for impalas. It's not unusual for one to get stabbed by the other. It's generally not the goal. It's more of a coincidental thing. But they do get injured by one another, certainly. All right, I think let's go back to those waterbuck. Those impalas do not want to show themselves. We'll just call that round one. Sounds like we may just have an issue with the camera. Oh, there we go. It's back. Okay, look at that termite. Look at the cropped grass and around it versus the long grass that they're walking through at the moment. We get lots of different species. Some taste better than others. And if somebody gives you a beautiful fillet steak or a little bit of chuck, you're rather going to have the fillet steak. or I suppose in this scenario, maybe a beautiful plate of asparagus as opposed to a half a mouldy carrot. The way this little one prances, beautiful. All right, it sounds like we've got some baboons up at Hwangi. Let's go have a look at their antics. Had a very nice sighting again in Kruger the other day. It's such an amazing place just to drive around and see what you get. We had some baboons in the road that were grooming, and some youngsters up in a tree having basically looked like they were having a conversation with a couple of ground hornbills. They were on the same branch, almost nose to nose. Looked like they were having a little chat. So very special to see some ground hornbills, but interesting to watch. There did seem to be some sort of interaction between the two of them. I think probably just the curious nature of the younger baboons, getting to know some of the other organisms that they share the park with. But that was very interesting to see. And a nice, probably about a sort of a 5-year-old ground hornbill. It just started to develop some color. It wasn't that vibrant red face, had more of an orange face, but he came down really rather close and was foraging around in a dead log, looking for some critters and bugs and beetle larvae or whatever he could find there. Always special to see a ground hornbill. And always entertaining to watch them. I noticed they were eating when we saw them. We had a few sightings of baboons, and a lot of them were feeding on the seeds of the wild foxglove that is no longer flowering. The flowers have gone, and the seeds have taken the place of the flowers. And those flowers, as far as I know, are toxic. I don't know whether the seeds are toxic, but we saw multiple baboons plucking the little seed casings off and eating them. But it is a good thing to point out if you are ever lost in the bush and hungry, just because you see a baboon eating something, it doesn't mean that it's fit for human consumption. They do eat a lot of things which would be toxic to us. Vervet monkeys are a little bit of a better indicator. They've got a more similar digestive capability and generally avoid things that would also be toxic to humans. Foraging for all sorts in there, from seeds, some roots, insects, of course, omnivorous diets. Always such good fun to watch baboons, such relatable behavior. Right, well, unfortunately, that's pretty much it for today, everybody. 45 minutes has flown by. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed these wonderful views, and please continue to do so. And enjoy most of you on your coffee. So I assume early morning for a lot of you. So I wish you all the best for this Tuesday. And do join us next time around as well. But thanks very much for your questions and comments. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch up with you again, same time, same place next week.